So in the very beginning, I would like to congratulate all of us, all who are present here, with the great holiday 98th anniversary since the date of birth of Mr. Schuller and International Day of Trees. So that's why I'm using this great picture, which is made by Marat Hafitulin. I will be modifying. I've modified it a bit, and it's one of the main celebrations of our activities. So shortly speaking, in the education in sphere, I'm been for 49 years, and mainly it is in online sphere. So if we're looking at the process of education within 1,000 years, it's not really stable. It's changed, of course, but mainly methods of education are changing, and the barriers of it change from stone, from paper to the modern methods, and now we use computer. So the founder of the full-time system, like being in the class with lessons, Mr. Kamensky, Jan Kamensky, he was considering that this very system, class lesson system, is the foundation. And one of the followers of this system was Viktor Shatalov. This specialist was one of the great methodologists which I met, and he centralized it with the central signal. So many people, they miss his system with the some foundational support conspects, but this is the whole methodology. And he was compared with the author of the supportive conspects. So in the 70s, when I've been to Donetsk, since then we were in relationship with him and by Skype in the last years of his life, and his activity influenced my direction in this very system. As of now, there is a fight between the education in class. Everything's fine. And online training. So they are followers of both systems. So I want to give you an analogy with the creation of transistor. So in 1947, John Bardeen, William Shockley, and Walter Brattain, they created transistor, and it was given 5% of the quality. 95% were failures. And so at first they didn't pay a lot of attention to it, but after that, Sony Corporation founder Masaru Ibuka and Akio Morita bought this license for transistor for $25,000, and they increased this quality up to 95%. And so that's why we had prerequisite that Japan, as the country with the main resources, so they saw ugly duckling in this transistor.
So currently, the budget related to semiconductors, so the overall budget is worth trillions, and this is the basis of current progress. We've seen a lot like that in the field of education. So we've seen a number of issues in the field of education, and many problems are related to this psychological inertia. There are two main points related to this aspect. So first of all, this inertia enables people to perform routine actions without thinking, but its main disadvantage is that people act out of the box, act in a standard way, not out of the box, in a standard way. So this is a disadvantage of such an inertia. Looking at one of our works, which is an equation of working, current machines, modern machines struggle to solve this equation. We are doing that. We do the working because this is a routine for us. So we don't need to solve this equation every time we make a new step. Psychological inertia is one of our aspects. We have a number of works related to that, which is the ability to stick to general point, widely recognized point. So this is the definition of this inertia. In this aspect, so this link to this aspect of this online training and education is manifested. It has not been supported by many people, by many supporters, because a lot of current concepts are still related to in-class training. One of the development areas in this field is removing human dimension from technical systems. So removing human dimensions from this area happens in such a way that humans stop playing the role of tools and then ranging the scope down to the level of decision making. So in this aspect, and we see these two main areas in this field. So with this switch, with this transfer from one state to a different state. So again, based on this law and principle, so this preliminary feedback we had, so now we've seen this feedback from Dr. Sharon Jones talking of online training, which will provide fantastic flexibility as well as offer more advantages, simplifying the task of organizing development possibilities, creating development opportunities. Online training creates a possibility to use this feedback loop, which is a great value and a great advantage of in-class training. Online training will eliminate untalented teachers. This is another saying on this topic. I will use the data from the notice from 2001 to 2007. We see two curves, online, offline, and in-person education. We see this offline training, which is a unexpected type of this bird, this ugly duck here, as we call it. So this is the data from 2001 to 2007. So these are the data for this period. And already we see this so-called ugly duck in the form of offline training. Dr. Schutte performed an experiment in this period. He gathered a number of groups, and then he statistically showed that this online training for students is valuable, and the students tend to perform, to show better results, 20% better results than those students who were trained in class. We wanted to increase the repeatability of these results. I will be still using parallel with transistors. These were not just odd cases. We just want to analyze the system. So we decided to analyze the system and decompose this system, which is, of course, here you see a very high-level simplified chart. We measure the success in education and split it into three blocks, three pillars, which is the interest in studies, the method of images, and the discipline. In reality, we see that many of them have different other subgraphs and subgroups. Working on this topic, I decided to involve this experience of Nikolai Bernstein. You remember he created this basics of cyber science 20 years before Wiener, and I launched a magazine on biomechanics and prophesizing. So again, what is interesting from his work is the following. So he decomposed the act of walking. He was studying Alain Dumek, the then world champion, and he used the graphic differentiation of those angles and acceleration, velocity. So he measured all these indicators, and through that, by means of decomposing, he showed how it's possible to improve those results of analysis and practical implementation for that. He offered many recommendations for brothers Znamensky, and using his recommendations, they won many competitions. So again, he used this decomposition to solve the problem of online training, and we can use the same to understand the efficiency of online training. So those curves of physical activity physiology, so these curves were not used quite often before. This is one of my focuses, and I wanted to use it to create this ideology on online training with those feedbacks and back connections. So again, he was not the only one. So before him, we had other examples. Before he started doing that, we had another example in the Soviet Union and Russia. We had Mr. Alexei Gastev. He worked on this working installations. He was a unique person, and there was an Institute of Labor. So we have a book here, which is the poetry of shock, by means of decomposing the movement of a hammer. So he decomposed the curve of moving while using a hammer. He decomposed it, and he used it to improve its efficiency. So he's one of the pioneers of science management, synthesizing work processes. So I see here, and you see here, that there are other examples of similar endeavors. Mr. Emerson, in his book 12 Principles of Productivity, he was telling that without the genius attempts, those efficiency improvement attempts are inefficient. So we see pasta here. So besides behind cooking them, we have strict instructions on how much time we need to spend to boil it. And again, if we look at the education, there are no strict instructions. We just receive a task, and people just spend their time to study the subject as much as they can. So we try to use the experience we have in different knowledge areas. So there are just 3 dimensions here, but we try to create our new and involved image for this development. So we use the decomposition for this attempts. We have my colleagues from Dubna, this one from Dubna, from nuclear institution, Mr. Maltin from Bauman. With Boris Ivanovich, we developed this system, which we used for different exact sciences, for different sciences like mathematics, physics, and others. And you see those pictures there that we created to represent our models. We created a center in Himki. There were students arriving from different geographies across the country, and we tested this method that we created. Now, this is one of the patents, which is a management system operator training stand, which is based on our methodologies. We also started analyzing the subjects that could be instrumental to create such a set of efficient training, efficient education of students of different age groups. Besides that, we worked on artificial intelligence. About 37 years ago, we we developed this first analytics system. We used this shell after that to study training and to perform training in the field of medical sciences, in the field of creating artificial limbs and other parts of the body. So again, this was the basis of our work, and we believe that one of the dimensions of online training will depend on artificial intelligence with some limited possibilities in this regard. Our system, and I'm going to demonstrate that further, it has a number of advantages when we use a set of subjects and other developments, technical developments. We use different classifications, so depending on the classification of tasks, we might need different approaches. So we have routine tasks, and we also have the tasks to overcome this psychological inertia. So this method of training and the method of this psychological overcoming of these stages, so they are different. We do have some general points. For example, right now we see these elective courses or additional courses which are very well developed. So depending on the area, we need to consider these aspects. We also use the ideas of Lobachevsky when he told that when he was preparing his lectures on non-Euclidean geometry. He always prepared for his lectures, so that's why we treat our sessions very seriously. One of our conditions is to be prepared as much as possible. There are many scenarios right now for these activities. Again, there is one of the scenarios which might be chosen by the world. We've seen major research done in different countries in this area. Of course, we don't have that much time to discuss all of them. So scenario one, so education as usual, with different figures used for training. We also have the scenario number two, which is regional raising or global giants. Is scenario number three, online training is mainstreamed in this field, or it can be based on scenario number four, which is peer-to-peer, on how we transfer knowledge from one person to a different partner. With other brothers are doing that. And scenario number five is called robo-revolution, when this is delivered by means of using machines. These are the advantages we have. So these are the advantages of online training versus in-class training. We have been doing online training for over 18 years. So these materials, so these tools have been quite well developed, so they are now exquisitely improved and developed, and there will be a graph, a chart at the end. So first, the results were comparable, and we considered the trend at the same time. So this trend was at the global level, which was the online education and training. So these forecasts have been confirmed. So we see that those curves here, they show that online training had a very bright future. So before that, those results, like with the example of the transistor, were not quite repeatable and not quite large scale. So the market size of global education, online education, has been growing. If we look at different sources from 0 to trillions, so these curves are available, and they always point at the fact that the market size has been growing. We see that its current size is comparable to budgets of various countries. The thinking inertia does not always enable us to switch to innovations, and this is just an example. Our respected colleague Alexei Savateev, so he's saying that people do not often understand that distant training, remote training, or network training is a path to nowhere. Children won't be able to learn anything. A kid should be trained by trainers, by teachers performing this in a standard mode, pointing at their errors, mistakes. And again, this is the way how we treat it. So sometimes these are opinions that are possible. They are not quite relevant at the moment. They are not in line with the current trend, and they are not in line with those principles for systems development. I looked at his works, and sometimes we see that the concepts there are mixed up. So sometimes he uses those methods which are applicable to, comparable to additional education or extra education. So depending on those people we have in our academy, we train in a different manner. So first of all, we can create this basis, we can create this fundamental area, then after that we can let those persons understand the subject. And with that, this is just a routine approach which is being developed. So based on that, we can then switch to a supra system, and then we work with the psychological inertia and address these issues. So this classification of education is a very important aspect, enabling us to understand those fundamental subject areas where you need to use these technologies, use these tools. Now, we see these methods of teaching here. So this image methods or object-oriented methods, we're using it in different variants and different forms. Here I am showing those possibilities of those trends in the field of online education. So there are many trends. I just show those main ones. We reduce the number of slides that were available from us. So again, we see that this future will depend on online education, and of course there is a lot of possibilities to develop online education in future. So again, our work in developing artificial limbs, our idea was like that. We don't have that much expert in this field. If we use their experience and put it in a database, so this means that anyone could be able to get a highly qualified answer within this shell, this database. So this was the same with this area, I believe. So we could gather those strongest experts and create this database. So this database, this system will be supporting, not replacing, but supporting this online training, just to support it. Again, there are a lot of works dedicated to the future of online training. I would like to stop also at to dwell on this area. So in our school, so this is our 13th campaign, they are trained not just to improve their knowledge, which is of course important, but they also are striving for being enrolled to major to leading universities. With higher competition, it is not sufficient to have plain knowledge. You need to stand out in some way, because many applicants show very good results. For example, for Cornell University, so we decomposed the main areas so for them to stand out. So again, to add to the knowledge needed to be admitted to leading universities. So we then created this chart.
5 минут осталось.
You still have 5 minutes, Mr. Farber. Okay, I will try to be on time. So again, thank you. So this conglomerate, this is a set of ideas, a set of these blocks here. So by means of addressing all that, we helped many of our students to be admitted to very good universities. Just several years ago, one of our students graduated from Cornell with the overall internship provided in the amount of $700,000 US. So this out of the class activity related to our internships and TRIZ training. So all this enhances and improves their possibilities. So besides that, I always use this image method when I deliver lectures at leading universities. Not only for school children, we also have an internship for students, for to-be students, and for them we provide this support. There is this internship we provide for them, so we give them example projects, and then after that we help them be admitted.
Аспекты работы мозга и как человек забывает, потому что, помните эту картинку с макаронами?
But you remember this picture with spaghetti. So we have to show periodicity of repetitions and the very methodology of keeping information, storage of information, because brain is being cleansed for the information to become functional. But for us to keep the and to store the knowledge, this should be fulfilled and added. So we analyze the result, how to do it correctly, how to overcome this contradiction. For 49 years, we've been dealing with this. So that's why it's not only methodology, which is important for the child to love the subject, not to fear it. And we have the formula of fear, how to overcome the fear. If you know, this is the level between the level and ignorance, and multiplied by the individual coefficient and multiplied by 100%. When knowledge and ignorance is compared, here is 0, and then they are not afraid of it and they become very powerful. So we build the faith in themselves, self-belief. So they're not kittens anymore, but they are tigers. So, and of course, we try to make lessons more attractive, because this is the most bad thing when the subject and the teacher is boring, and we give good ties between online and classroom education, and we give some opportunities to cheat a bit, kind of to write something from somebody's notebook. So our students is on the principle of Edison. When every 15 minutes he was picking up his phone on the railroad and he was saying that I'm not asleep. So they don't have any algorithm to stay back and to go somewhere. So they are by 100% busy. So considering their interest of entering some elite colleges and schools, we also, I will finish this thought. Also, we don't test children as they do everywhere in many places. They're all smart. You see, some guys who were considered to be idiots, like Pascal, Neyman. So if they've been tested, so they wouldn't go ahead. So that's why our people, they achieve good results. And this curve is very interesting, because for many years we've been dealing with education. Lower curve, this blue line, is the curve of the classroom education. And at first it was on the higher level when we began. And right now we give the same test, and together with the SAS system statistic variability. So then this curve goes higher, online results. As I show Cornelius slide, so classroom, online education is higher than classroom education.